Hello, nice to see you again. I have to apologize again, but the year is quite difficult for me. Just to summarize, I just lose my job and I concentrate on launching my photographic activity at 100%. So that's why I'm not really often on my YouTube channel because I don't have a lot of time. I have to apologize about this. So let's jump in the video after these apologizes, and what I want to do today is make a conclusion regarding the comparison between the SL2 and the S1R, Lumix S1R and Leica SL2. You know the story about these two cameras. They are part of the L-mount Alliance, and they are both hybrid cameras with both 47 megapixel sensors, but they are very, very different in terms of ergonomy and design and button layouts and menu and so on. It's really, really different. So it's a kind of gymnastic in my head. Each time I switch from this one with the tilt screen with lots of buttons to, sorry for the noise, to this one, which is the simplicity by itself. It's a Leica. And I can even grab my D3S and remember very fast and easily my settings and the way I work. And I tried, since I come from this camera, I tried to find the same way of working with the S1R, which is completely possible. And you will see that some features are missing in the SL2. So we have already seen in 3 videos the difference between the two regarding the screen, the touch screen, the tilt screen, the joystick, and the button layouts. What do I need when I take a camera? What I need is an AF on back button. That means that it's not the one here that makes the focus. What I need is the possibility to parameter the ISO settings. I need to have an exposure compensation button that you can just easily change your exposure. I need to have a white balance in case I work in JPEGs, or at least to see if I can reach a right balance even if I am using the raw files. I need a spot measure that can be instantaneous. What does it mean? That means that, for instance, with my D3S, when I am in the metering, the global measure of the light, I can just press the button here and I will make a spot metering just for this picture. I don't need to change the way I measure the light using this button here, this switch. I just press the front button here and I am in spot metering. What I need also is, is the depth of field previsualization, the preview of the depth of field. So let's show you what it is. When you are using a manual lens or an AF lens, whatever, you use the dial to change the aperture, but it doesn't apply the aperture on the lens when you make your focus. It will apply the aperture when you will take the picture. It will close the lens. And with the Nikon, you hear that? You can ask to preview the depth of field, just closing the lens at the aperture that you selected. So here I am at f8, and when I see, when I press the button, I see the lens that will close. Maybe you can see that. I'm not sure. Not sure you see the diaphragm that is closing. Well, at least this is what I need. When you make your composition and that you work a lot with your aperture, you want to see the result in depth of field. And what I need also is an AE lock button. That means that you can lock the exposure and let's say you measure the light, you lock the exposure, and you make your another composition without you losing your exposure. So let's see now if the SL2 and S1R, but mainly the SL2 because it's the purpose of this video, can achieve this expectation for me. So the back button for the IF, yes, you can use the joystick, and it's really well done. It's a pro on the SL2 because when you put your camera in manual focus, using the back joystick, when you press it, you can activate the autofocus. And the good thing is that if your autofocus setting is to be, for instance, face detection or spot focus or more zone focus, when you are in manual focus and you press the joystick, then it behaves in the IF mode that you selected. So for instance, you are with a model and you are trying to make the manual focus on the face. If you press the back joystick for IF on, it will switch to the face detection and you will be sure that you nail the focus on the eye of your model. Very clever on the SL2. The second thing is the ISO parameter. You can see in my second and third video with the button layout. Yes, you can apply with these two buttons on the top. The first one on the left is you can select if you want ISO auto or specify manually your ISO. And the one on the right, you can parameter the behavior of the ISO depending on whatever you want. Also the minimum shutter speed. And this is really well done in this camera as in the Lumix S1R. It's faster to do it in S1R, but you can do it in both cameras. Exposure compensation, yes, you can. When you are with your SL2, just turning the top wheel, you change the exposure compensation plus or minus, like you can do with the S1R. You press this button here, plus minus, and you turn the wheel, you change the exposure. The white balance, of course, you can do. The spot measuring, this is something that is missing in the SL2. You cannot assign to any button a spot measure, a punctual spot measure. So you are obliged, if you want to go into the spot metering mode, you are obliged to switch with using a button and go into the... Oh, sorry, I have my phone that is ringing again. Okay, I'm back. My phone was ring, sorry. Yes, the spot metering, you cannot have a button to ask for a punctual spot metering with the SL2. You can do that with the S1R, and more than that, with the S1R, you can also have, and you can check my video on the S1R, you can ask him to make a spot measure somewhere else than where you make your focus. Very clever. I mean, you can select to expose your scene somewhere else that where you make the focus. I love this feature on the S1R, S1 and so on, but you cannot do that with the SL2. So no punctual spot measure. That's something that I miss. You know, you want to make a portrait, there is a kind of highlight behind, or you just want to expose on the face of the person, of your model, and you are obliged to switch and come to spot measure, and then okay, you are in spot measure. Well, it's losing time when you just can press a button with the D3S or S1R. The depth of field preview, you can do that also, of course, with the Nikon. You can do that with the S1R, and you cannot do that with the SL2. So when you are using your whatever lens and you change your aperture, you cannot preview the depth of field by asking the lens to close the diaphragm. That's a real pity for the SL2, mainly when you know that DSL first generation was able to do that. So I don't know, but these are the two main pains that I have identified with the SL2. No spot measure, no depth of field preview. And the AE lock button, of course, you can ask, I think they can ask to the, for instance, the back button here to be, just check if it's possible. No, you can't assign to this button the fact that you want to lock the exposure. So, no, you cannot on the SL2. You cannot lock the exposure, so that's another cons on the SL2. So this already was where my expectations, and are these cameras able to answer these requests from my side? So what we have seen is that yes, they can, except the SL2 that cannot have preview for the depth of field, and no spot metering and no IE lock. So let's see now, I have another list here, some other pros and cons of the SL2. The battery life of the SL2 is very short, depending on the way you parameter the camera. You can ask him to switch off fast and so on, but then the time it takes to reboot is so long that you lose your photography. So if you want to keep it awake longer than if you try to save battery, you will drain your battery very fast, and batteries are very, very expensive. It's 150 euro for one battery. So I have found one spare battery at lower price, and I took it. And each time I will find some spare battery on a used market and so on, I will take it. And for now I have two batteries, one in the camera and one spare battery. So it's okay for half a day, I would say, but I'm not confident to go away for one full day with only two batteries with the SL2. The S1R is less consuming the batteries, and the batteries are less expensive also, so it's not an issue with the S1R. Another draws or cons that I found on the SL2 is when you use the focus assistance that zoom in the focus point when, for instance, you are using manual focus and you start to move the focus ring, it will zoom into the place where the focus point is. The thing is that it focuses, and this zoom is taking the full screen of the camera, so you lose your composition. With the S1R, you can ask that this focus assistant, the zoom, is done in a small window, so you don't lose your composition, and you see in a small window the detail of your the point of focus, that you can then zoom more or less into this, but you can still keep this composition. It's very helpful to be able to tune your focus. Okay, you are making the precise focus with the camera, and when you are okay, you press the shutter release, and it's okay. With the SL2, when you are okay, you half press the shutter release to go back to your composition and to be sure that you didn't move too much your composition, and you have to recompose and then take the picture. So that's another cons I found with the SL2. Another point is that you know that on these hybrid cameras, you can mount whatever lens you want from other brands. For instance, I have a 35 PC from Nikon here that I can mount using a Metabonds adapter, and then it works. With the S1R, when you switch the camera with a manual lens, it will ask you simply the focal that you are using, and then it will adapt the image in-body image stabilization to this focal. So let me show you. If I mount this lens on the camera, when I switch the camera on, He asks me, current settings, focal length is 35, yes or no? Do you want to change? Yes. So if you say yes, so if you say no, you just click here, you don't change, you know it's 35. It's just a message that you have when you switch on the camera. Is it still the 35? Yes, you press the button. If no, you can change, and then you just dial here the focal that you have mounted on your camera. So let's say I put a 105 here. I can simply release this lens, put my 105 here, and in the menu here, oh, I went out of the menu, sorry. So I switch on again. And in the menu here, I will just ask him to be a 105. And I come back to the 35 the next time I switch off the camera if I want. With the SL2, you cannot do that. The SL2 is dedicated for L-mount lenses and M and R lenses. Whatever you put that is not an M lens or an R lens, you cannot ask the SL2. You cannot tell him just simply the focal length. So you are obliged to go into the lens selection menu of the SL2 and try to find in the M or L database the closest focal that is close to the lens that you put on. If you put a M lens that is 6-bit coded, you have the black and white code 6-bit code on the lens. It's easy. You put the lens using the adapter. If it is the Leica adapter, of course, because the Leica adapter has this connection, electronic connection here, and also the fact that it has something here, a little window that reads the 6-bit code. When you put it on the Leica, it recognizes the lens that you are using thanks to the 6-bit code. And okay, you go and you have in the EXIF and the information of the lens that you were using. But if you try to do the same, trying to take a 50mm like this with the Metabonds adapter and you mount it on the camera, it's not recognized as an M or R lens. So the problem is that if it doesn't recognize an M or R lens, the image stabilization is off. You need to specify a focal length to use the IBIS of the camera. So you need to go into the menu and try to find a 50mm. But the fact is that if you select 50 Summicron from the M lens database, you will have this information in the EXIF of your picture, whereas the lens that you are using is a Nikon, and it's not a M lens Summicron. And also, it will apply the correction on the JPEG file that are linked to the Summicron and not to this one. So that's a bit annoying with the Leica, and you can feel that it's like Apple, for instance. It's closed. It's closed. You use a Leica for Leica lenses. They are open to the L-mount alien, so you can use Sigma and Panasonic lenses, of course, but as soon as you are using manual lenses, this body is made for M and R lenses. I think it's clear now. What else? Yes, the names of the files, the JPEG files, you can only use one letter. It's a little, it's a detail, but just, you know, here you can use 3 letters, here it's only 1. The name of the profiles, you know you can have custom profiles. In the S1R, the name can be very long. It can be a long character chain. In the SL2, it's very short. It's few letters, so it's not easy to give a name to a custom profile that is explicit enough to understand and to see that, okay, it's this speed, this ISO, tac tac tac. You can in the S1R you can specify much more information in the custom profile name. Also, the way you can switch from AF continuous to AF single to manual is long, because you need to go in the menu. You need to go here, menu, and then you go here, and then you change if it is manual, a single, or whatever. So it's quite long, and when you are in a rush of a shooting and you want to switch very fast from continuous to single, you cannot do that fast. Here it's easy. You have this joystick. You turn single, continuous, manual. So it's easy and very powerful. The same you can do with the Nikon, of course. So that's a little pain with the SL2. Also, when the camera is switched off, there is no display on the top screen. Nothing is displayed here. So in the S1R or I think many other cameras, when they have a top display, you have information about your battery, about the number of pictures that are remaining that you can take. So you have some parameters on the top screen, but with the SL2 it's off and you don't see anything. The AF continuous is terrible. I mean, when you are used to working with a face detection camera like the Nikon, when you use, and this is for both cameras, the AF continuous is horrible. It's always doing this in the AVF or on the back screen. You see that the focus is always moving. So you never see your subject in focus in the viewfinder, so it's very distracting. You are not sure that your focus is done because the lens is always doing this. When you press the button, maybe you are lucky enough to have a sharp image, but in continuous focus, I don't trust at all these two cameras. I made again recently some tests with the 70 to 200. I tried several parameters with dogs of my father and my brother. I mean, I have maybe 1 or 2 pictures that are okay among 10. So really, I don't trust the continuous focus of these two cameras, even with the latest firmware that I have on the two cameras. And last thing is about the touch screen. So it's very nice when you are in the first menu. You can touch the screen to access all these pictos, and you can tune very fast. But in the menus, the touchscreen is not working any longer. So in the menu, you have to use the joystick or the dial. It's not a menu touchscreen. Regarding the pros of the SL2, there are a lot also. It has a really pleasing ergonomy. Really, I mean, when you take this camera in your hand, it's really pleasing to take your pictures and to use the camera. It's much more pleasing than to use the S1R, which is more bulky. Okay, you have lots of buttons, so maybe you have too much buttons, and I mean the ergonomy and the sensation you have with the SL2 is really, really pleasing. I love more and more this camera. The first day I got it, I said, wow, it's really impressive, but I started to say a lot of negative things regarding the ergonomy. But in some occasion, when you are using manual lenses, when you are using maybe, for instance, the 16 to 35, it's really pleasing. The EVF is wonderful. It's better than the EVF on the S1R. They made something very special with the back glass of the EVF. The way you can change the diopter here to adapt it to your view is very well done also with the SL2. I mean, this thing is easy to change. And there is this white inscription here, but okay, even if you move the diopter here, you can easily go back to your settings. In the S1R, you know, you have this little button that you need to, I don't know, you need to No, you can just turn it like this, but there is no white, nothing is. If you move this parameter, then you need again to put your eye and try to find back the right position. With the SL2, you can find back the right position even without putting the eye in the viewfinder. So very, very clever for that. This camera, although it's not good to work without M or R lenses, but when you work with M lenses, it is optimized for that, and you have the top-notch quality of the M lenses, thanks to the front little micro lenses that you have on the sensor that are very optimized for M lenses. The S1R doesn't have this optimization. The clear display, also in the back menu, the fonts that are used for the letters, the simplicity of the menu, very, very pleasing, much more pleasing than the S1R. You have less things in the menu. So it can be a cons also because you can parameter less things. But the menu navigation is very pleasing and very, very clear. For that, they did really good jobs. The way you switch to video, it's very, very simple. You are here at you put the menu and you go to video here, and you have a black and white menus that are different. Video, it's white. Photo, it's black. You cannot miss and make any mistake about this. And it's easy to switch from one to the other menu. I never use my SL2 for video, but for those who use the SL2 in video, I think it's a plus. And the overall design and simplicity of the camera is a real pros for this SL2. Really appreciated. So that's it regarding pros and cons of the SL2, regarding my personal expectation. I don't know if you have the same regarding my experience and history with using Nikons for more than, let's say, 20 years now. So my expectations are matched fully with the S1R. There are some missing features with the SL2, but overall, I love this camera. I love the S1R as well. It depends on what I want to shoot and my photographic session. But anyhow, I still have both of them now. I put the 70-200 on the S1R, the 16-35 on the SL2. Eventually, so I had the 24-90, but I just exchanged this week with a 35 Lumix FLE, so the last 35 from the M lenses. So I have the 35 Lumix 1.4. In case of the f4.5 of this 16-35 is not enough, I have this one, and I have a 50mm Lumix. But let's say this is my settings when I go out and shoot with, it can be professional or not. This is what I take with me. So overall now, if we consider both cameras, they have impressive image quality. I struggled at the beginning trying to find the right colors, and it was due to my Lightroom, that is a fixed license, Lightroom 6. And without the optimized profile for these two cameras. So I was struggling to find a way to have the same image with the SL2 and the S1R. But now I switched to a Capture One, and I can tell you that there are no differences between the two cameras in terms of image quality, as long as you use L lenses. With M lenses, the SL2 is better because it is optimized. But for the L lens, honestly, now that I have calibrated my cameras with the X-Rite chart with 24 colors, you can make your own profile. But already the profile that you have in Capture One, 21, are very pleasing and very accurate, and you can have the same result. So if you are wondering if the Leica SL2 has a better image quality than the S1R, definitely no. It's the same image quality. That's maybe the most important thing for you to know. But honestly, the same. You can go out with two cameras, make your pictures, and at the end you have a bunch of pictures from one and the other. You can give them to your customer, and they don't see the difference. The difference is on the lens. And I can tell you that when I use my 50 Sumilux SL lens, okay, there is a difference on this one and on this one. The 90 Summicron Apo Summicron lens, okay, that's completely different than what you get from an 85mm from Nikon. So yes, the difference is based on the lens that you will use, but not on the camera. Believe me, same quality, the colors same, the definition, it's impressive, and the most important thing is to use the right lens. And when I use the Apo Summicron 90, I'm just blown away by the quality and the detail and the way you can zoom in the picture, and it's always sharp and so on. It's impressive. The even body image stabilization of the two cameras is also very powerful. It works very, very well. No point about this. I can use my 70-200 at 1/15th of the second. Sharp images, impressive. The IF single is very, very powerful. The IF continuous, no, but IF single, yes, like I said. The manual focus assistance, very powerful. There's a peaking with the zoom. Okay, there is a limitation with the zoom with the SL2, but anyhow, using manual lenses on hybrid cameras nowadays is very, very, you cannot lose your focus. With a DSLR, depending on the lens that you are using, for instance, 28mm, okay, you have a very powerful assistance in the viewfinder here, which is an optical viewfinder. You have these two arrows, green, that shows you in which direction you have to go with your focus ring. And it is based on the phase detection autofocus system. So you have a real good assistance also with DSLR. But if you have some eyesight, or if you are not very powerful doing manual focus with DSLR, I can tell you that hybrid cameras now, it's very powerful, and I don't think it's specific to the elemental lens. I think whatever the camera you take now, an hybrid camera, you will have the peaking and the zoom. Very powerful to make your manual focus. But the good thing is, with the SL2 and the quality of the EVF, you can rely on what you see without having the peaking and without zooming. You can make your manual focus with the SL2. The EVF is so good, so good. And the last thing is the silence of these cameras. One time I made a wedding with the D3S, and so you hear the noise of this camera. It's a mess. When you are in a church, you feel that everybody is looking at you. And the SL or the Panasonic are very, very nice in this regard, because you don't hear them when you take picture in this kind of environment. So you see, okay, demonstration is done. So here we are. I apologize again for the time it took me to make this video. I didn't have the energy and the time to do that, but okay, I wanted to finalize this discussion that I started a few months ago with already 3 videos. So this is the last one about the SL2 compared to S1R. And after that, I will go back to making videos that are more related to photography. But this subject was very important for me, and I really wanted to sort this out and be sure that I made the right choice. And the conclusion is that I keep the two. for my professional activity. Two 47 megapixels camera, completely complementary. And I am happy with these two cameras. So I will not be able to give you any advice on which one is made for you. You have all my 4 videos now to make your own choice, knowing all the limitations, the pros and cons of each one. So thanks for watching this very long video. Sorry again, and let's see you in a new one. I don't know when exactly, but I will focus more on photographic activity and will show you more tips and tricks regarding taking pictures and some advices. So thanks again. Have a really, really good day, pleasing time. Keep safe, sorry. Thanks, sorry for my English also. And hope to see you in a close future. Don't forget, of course, to subscribe, like the video, leave any comment, and I will be pleased to answer your request. And if you have some requests regarding new subjects for videos, don't hesitate also to ask me. Thank you so much. Goodbye.